Good morning, mi gente. Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Apron. I'm your host, Kassy, and I hope you guys are having a great start to your Friday and an even better start to your weekend. This week, we're accompanied by another great friend of ours in the studio. We worked together, we went to school together growing up, so we have a lot more to spill and share than just secrets. Make sure you guys are drinking something strong this morning, whether it's a coffee or something stronger. We don't judge. So without further ado, y'all say hi to Jessica.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here. And again, with this podcast, I'm so happy to reconnect with you and share our stories after a long time of not seeing each or talking, but seeing each other on Snapchat and always following your chronicles and everything
my
like
Cheddar's
that.
Chronicles.
Yeah, like always being, I feel like I've always been a part of your journey.
Yeah.
In a way. Yeah, like your food industry journey. But I've also seen you like be a like free person, and I see you being a wife, and then I see you being a mom. So I mean, it's different stages. I mean, we've known each other since what, like fourth grade?
I can't believe that life has brought us back together in the way that it has. You and I have known each other again since fourth grade. We grew up together in elementary. We did a little bit of cheer together, and then middle school and then high school, we ended up kind of around the same crowds all the time. And then after high school, we coincidentally ended up at the one local chain restaurant as servers. And it was like the cool place to work.
Yeah. And I actually, when I first started at Chili's Eagle Pass, I remember I had applied for a hostess position.
Me too.
Yeah. And they were like, we don't need any more hostess, because a lot of our, friends from high school that were like, I feel like we're juniors at the time or like seniors at the time, had the hostess positions filled. I feel like that was always like a high school student.
Yeah.
And then we got to start off as servers, and I remember I just started like, I didn't start far too long before you.
Yeah.
Like I had just kind of started. I was sort of brand new too.
Wow.
But when you got there, you literally, I felt like you knew your shit. It was
It honestly became second nature to me. I feel like at the end of the day, this is what I was called to do, like be in the restaurant industry, because of how natural it kind of came off. Don't get me wrong. I made some mistakes, and I remember like those were the mistakes that I never wanted to make again. I'll never forget something happened with like a two-top, and I gave her the wrong salad or the wrong salad dressing. And Mark like got mad at me, and I remember to never make that mistake again. And that's something I've always told like the kids that I've worked with, and that these mistakes are going to happen, but unfortunately or fortunately, the more mistakes you make, you know not to make them again in the future.
I know. I will tell you one mistake that I will never make again is when a guest orders I don't know what burger it was, but I swear he wanted bacon on his ribs. I swear he wanted bacon on his ribs. And it was the way that I rang it in was a half rack, and then I put like add bacon. And I remember the chefs were like, you have to charge for the bacon, right? And I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh my God. And just give it to me.
Yeah. And then I remember trying to tell him, the customer wants this big fat bacon, like this fat, like the one in this menu picture right here. Can you just make it like that? And I swear we had like a ribeye sandwich or something like that, because I was like, this is how the customer wants it. Make it that way. And I remember
oh my God.
Yeah, he was keying that day, and he took the ribs and bacon to the table, and they were like, this is not what I ordered. I ordered a bacon cheeseburger, and I wanted my bacon to look like the bacon on the bacon cheeseburger in this picture. And I was like, oh my God. Shit. I was like, I honestly don't know how I got that mixed up. I really don't. Till this what was I on? I don't know. Like that.
What is the craziest bar drink that you've ever put in and like messed up? Like, were you ever kind of like very green in that area? Like when they asked you for like a gin and tonic, and you not knowing like what that was, or
oh yeah,
a weird drink combo. Oh my God, please forgive my son.
Oh no, he's not as bad as these kids here. These kids keep talking to me and I'm like, shut up. It's mom time. I'm busy. It's mommy time.
Yes.
Give me my break. But I remember I think the craziest thing I did was Coke and vodka or something like that. It's something that you don't mix, and you don't.
Yes.
It's like mixing Mentos and a Diet Coke in it. Like, you don't mix vodka and Coke or something like that.
Oh, do you remember what they asked for?
No, to be honest.
I'll never forget. And I did the same thing. And they asked for like a vodka soda, and I was like, okay, or like a tequila. It had to have been a vodka soda.
Okay, mine had to be a vodka soda too, because I don't know anything besides beer.
Else.
Yeah, like I don't know, like what you want, what you're asking.
And I was like, okay, like what kind of like vodka would you like? And they told me, and so I bring it in, like the vodka, add Coke, like Coca-Cola.
You stupid, yeah.
My dumb ass shows up with like a rocks glass with the vodka and like Coke, and obviously you can tell it's Coke. And the guy was like, what is this? And I was like, vodka soda. And he's like, and you could like, he laughed, and I was like, motherfucker, like what did I do wrong? Like I looked like such a dumbass. And I had to have been like 19 or 20. I had to have been 19. And he was like, no, like club soda. And I was like, oh.
I honestly probably would have done the same thing. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I didn't know anything about mix or ounces or how to ring it in, or I knew nothing about that. I hate it when I got people like that.
So I know you have a lot more to share. You worked at several different places apart from Chili's, where you and I both started. So tell us a little bit about, who you are, everything that you've done.
So funny that you talk about, your friend having the same experience as I did, because I too worked at Texas Roadhouse, and I forgot to tell you this, but because I too had a miscarriage while on shift, and they wouldn't let me leave, and it wasn't, and thank God I was working with my now husband.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the only father to my children.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to say, like, get the fuck in the car. We're going to the hospital, because nothing is more important than you and that baby right now.
Yeah. How far along were you?
Well, it was so funny because like Andrew and I had just started dating for 4 months. And I mean, I think when you know who you're going to marry.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew from the instant when I met my husband that I was going to marry him. The day I met him, I was like, all right, like he's gonna, he's mine.
This is going the distance.
Yeah, like I don't give a shit. Like you're mine. Yeah. So I mean, puppy love and all that stuff. I think when you're young, especially going through like that time where you have, opportunities, because I will say this, I did come from a very strict household. I know. And everyone's going to disagree. But I swear I did come from a strict household. My dad was very strict with curfew. I mean, I had to show up to church on Sunday. Like, I had to go to church with him on Saturday before I went out, or, I would have to be home by a certain time. But, it was always fun to go behind your parents' back, because that's just being, young. One day my kids are going to do it to me.
Right.
However, I know the tricks, like all the
so
tricks.
I'm a step ahead.
Yeah, I was like, they don't know who they're messing with. Like they already
met their match.
Yeah, like there's no, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. But at that time you're in puppy love, and I guess you're having more time together, and you're spending more time doing whatever. And I just remember like everyone getting pregnant at that time. To me, it still felt like teenage pregnancy.
Yeah.
Like, because we were just all still in college, and some of us were getting pregnant, but I mean, they were getting degrees, and then having a baby while they're getting their degree. But I mean, people just
It's
go
wild.
down. Yeah. People just go down different, you know, golden brick roads, I guess. I don't fucking know. But, yeah. So Andrew and I remember the day that we conceived. I know you probably don't want to put this on your podcast, but
no,
you can.
I know the day that also me and Manny.
Yeah. So we did the deed, and I mean, it's so easy as a girl not to get pregnant, dude. I'm not kidding. And then with Andrew, like, it was so hard. Like, from the very beginning, we had unprotected. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, like, when I got pregnant, I was like in shock because I was like, I've had unprotected sex before, and oh my God, like all of a sudden, like, I'm pregnant.
Like, how did this happen?
Yeah. And I mean, that was before, I mean, Andrew was 19 and I was 20.
Okay.
So he was in the process of joining the military. However, you know, he had just graduated high school, and then he was playing college ball after that. So he joined in October. So he was trying to like finish his scholarship for college ball.
Okay.
And, you know, just he dropped out of college. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, in that summer time, whatever. And he moved back to San Antonio, and his parents were actually in the process of moving to Alabama. But like I said, dude, like since the moment Andrew and I met, like I knew that he was going to be my husband. Like that's it.
Yeah.
So he moved in with me. I remember I told you that my mother-in-law used to work at on 1604. She used to run that one on Bandera.
Yeah.
Well, the industry, like the service industry is so small. She knew the general manager, Texas Roadhouse.
Okay.
And this was the time that Andrew and I needed a job because I had quit Logan's. We ended up getting hired at Texas Roadhouse together. And
wow.
Yeah, there was a lot of drama that came with it. Like, I will tell you that. Like,
I bet.
Yeah, like we went in together and we left together. Like,
no way.
Yeah, because again, we would just tell everyone we were engaged. Like, we were just boyfriend and girlfriend. And we would just tell everyone that we were engaged. He was joining the army, blah, blah, blah. Like, everyone knew that me and Andrew were the couple. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of our shifts were together. We picked up doubles together. Like, if we needed to make extra money, like we would bank on doubles at Texas Roadhouse. And then I remember, again, like the beginning of our relationship, we were only together for 4 months, and I got pregnant with our first baby. And I was 5 weeks. And I remember it was before a shift that morning. I went in that morning. I took a pregnancy test and told Andrew, I was like, oh my God, like this is like, I'm pregnant. And, you know, we went, I mean, I was 5 weeks then. And then, you know, we were so excited that we told everybody.
Yeah.
When we went into our PM shift that day. And it was literally the day that I found out I was pregnant is the day that I miscarried.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And, you know, we were telling everyone and whatever. And I just remember like that day was just like, it felt really weird. Cause like when you're having a miscarriage, like you do feel like when you find out that there's a little baby in your belly and all that stuff, like it changes you. I don't know how to like, you know, something's in there. And then when I was miscarrying, I just remember it felt like a really heavy period. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah. So I was already dying, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I don't know if this is normal or not, but I went to the bathroom and I had noticed that I was bleeding, and I was like, and it wasn't heavy. It's like, you know, like when you're kind of like in your early days, you spot.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that's what it was. And I just remember, you know, everyone knew I was pregnant, and I understand that Texas Roadhouse was really busy, but like there was no sympathy or empathy like at all for
you being pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah. And everyone knew and it was all new. So like, I would assume that everyone would be like, no, you're pregnant, you know, like,
yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. No, like they would just throw the tray on me. And like, I don't know, I guess I was in on a lot of stress that day too, because like, I just found out I was pregnant. I didn't know how to tell my mom and dad. I told my coworkers before my parents. Like, my parents didn't know until, Andrew called him and was like, hey, I'm taking Jessica to the hospital right now. We think she's miscarrying. So, dude, to break it to my parents like the same day. Oh, it was horrible.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. And then I was pissed when we were trying to go back to work because, they told me to rest. Right. And obviously, Andrew, again, we went in to get, like, he's my fiance. He's, they wanted him to go back the next day.
My God.
And that I needed to get my shifts picked up. And I was like, and if I can't, they were like, well, just try. And I was like, okay. Well, at least I wasn't fired, but still, like, that was pretty shitty.
You would think like, okay, I got you, like, don't even worry about it, like, take care of you.
Yeah, dude. And then after I went to the bathroom, I went to go tell Andrew, and Andrew went to the GM because he was actually working a night shift that night, which was really weird. And again, like, we had told the whole restaurant that we were pregnant. Well, that I was pregnant. And, he went to the GM, and the GM was like, I get it, bro. And that's literally how he would talk to people. Like, I get it, bro.
Oh my God.
His voice just irks me till this day. Like, he's just like one of those cocky,
my God,
people. He went to go tell the GM, like, hey, my fiance thinks she's miscarrying. I think we're gonna leave. And then when the GM responded, he was like, hey, bro, I get it, but you can't just walk out on a shift with all these tables. Like, you have a 3-table section. And then Andrew was just like, yeah, y'all can go fuck yourselves. I'm going to go take my fiance to the fucking hospital. Like,
dude, I hate that. I am so sorry.
Yeah. And I mean, I was listening to your podcast about your friend prior to, well, from what I heard on her experience, I was just like, oh my gosh, like that reminds me of the time that I did it. Like,
it reminded you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think it was like kind of before Andrew left to the military, like, we were living it, like, no care in the fucking world. Like, I remember it was so easy to quit a job back then.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about like bills and stuff, and your credit score.
Right.
And whatnot. Yeah. I was like,
those were the days.
Yeah. So, I mean, I remember Andrew, it was like September time after that. Like, we worked at Texas Roadhouse just for a little bit after, what had happened. But like, slowly we could tell, like, we were both burned out. Like, just the restaurant life wasn't for us. I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to be a dental hygienist prior to what I do now. But, being a military wife, it was really hard to find like a commitment to a career without, I guess, stableness.
Yeah.
Because we moved wherever the military told us to go. There was no what ifs or ands. I mean, Andrew at that time was government property.
Yeah.
Like, that mofo, if he were to leave like the country or something, like, without telling anyone, like, that is a missing person. Like,
oh my God.
Faster than a freaking like Amber Alert. I will tell you that. Like,
my God. That is crazy. I always forget that my brother's also in the military, and we talk about it every now and then. And my dad's like, yeah, no, your brother's government property. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, and that's also whenever I did the whole military wife thing, I worked at a lot of, serving jobs.
Yeah.
And this was when Andrew actually left the military. I was like, I can go back to Chili's whenever I want because, that's where I started at. And I have my resources, however, not the GM at that time, because I did leave Chili's Eagle Pass, like,
not in the best of ways.
Yeah. Like, I quit with a text message, and
oh my God.
it was like sincere. Like I was sincere, like burnt out, because I remember it was during a time that I had like a group project, and I don't know, like living in a small town, like you don't want to be stuck at work while everyone gets to go out. Like I felt at Chili's in Eagle Pass specifically, I had no life. Like, because I was there from, I mean, shoot, sometimes I would open and close.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like, but that's because I was young and I could do that. And
yeah, that's true.
Because I wanted to, you know, to go spend my money after a shift at Walmart. I hated myself for that. I always did it.
Or Skillets. I would go to Skillets.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, me too. I would honestly like Janelle Garza. I don't know if you ever, well, you remember Janelle.
Yeah.
You know, we're still besties till this day. I remember like that was my way of treating her every time she came down from like Texas State, was treating her to Skillets after a shift. And we would literally stay at Skillets like after my shift, and we would just stay there till like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Just talking and spending my money and then you just want to give that server like a bigger tip than what you.
Of course.
Yeah. What was like the biggest tip that you've ever given anyone?
That I've ever given anyone? One of the like most memorable times that it stands out to me, it was at Chili's. I was already a server, and I'll never forget. It was a Sunday after church, and that Sunday after church people are like some of the worst tippers ever. And I was like, I refuse to like fucking be a statistic. Like, no, absolutely not. Especially since I already worked there. And we were like a good amount. I think it was like a 15 top. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna like make sure that like they leave her a good tip. And so I think it was like individual, like 2, maybe at most 3 families. And my parents obviously paid the ticket. I think they tipped, and my parents are good tippers. And I think like the other 2 families like tipped. And then on top of like whatever they gave her, I left a $50 tip.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
So like
cash.
Dang.
So she probably made like upwards of like maybe $100.
That is pretty cool. I think the most that I've ever gotten tipped, that I've ever tipped out was like on my own was I think like $70.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I'm not I'm not the best tipper at all, okay? But like,
yeah,
it was a time that I worked at Logan's, and we used to go to the bar at Buffalo Wild Wings right next door, like all of us. Because I will say that Logan's Roadhouse like crew, again, we were all young, like, which is why we all got along so well. Like I remember I used to party with them, and because we were all kind of in the same age, and it was also good like not to know where you were from.
Yeah.
Like people didn't know who you were.
They didn't know like your backstory and stuff.
I would say like it was really hard for me to make friends at Chili's Eagle Pass because, you know, a lot of girls knew who I was. Like, yeah. And I honestly, small town USA didn't have, I'm not a bad person, or I was never a bad person. I hung around people that be in some kind of drama, and then I was always in the middle of it. So
unfortunately,
we were all young. Yeah. But I feel like, again, like I was always kind of judged, and that's why it was just really hard to connect with anybody in Chili's path.
It almost makes you feel like you don't even want to like put in the effort to get to know people, because you may already have that like misconception of like, well, they probably already know everything about me, and they probably already think all of this like about me, or they're like, I know they're talking shit, so why am I even gonna bother?
I know. And then I feel like that kind of causes like drama. Like a lot of my like, I don't know, a lot of my like, I guess like experiencing different personalities, and drama came from like that specific fucking restaurant. Yeah. That's the restaurant that I met my mother-in-law in. That's the my first lesbian lover. Like, I mean, I'll go into deets about the lesbian lover, but I will just say it's nothing like, I don't know, like different experience.
It's nothing out of,
Yeah, like.
It's nothing too crazy.
Yeah, like I swear if my mom hears this, Mom, it wasn't me, okay? Like
I promise you.
Like I'm telling you that you just I just was a pretty gal and a lesbian just thought I was pretty is all.
That's right.
But she was a really pretty lesbian too, so I mean, whatever. But yeah, like I will say like a lot of crazy shit happened at that Logan's, and that Logan's burned like.
Really?
Yeah, it caught on fire. It
like
was
to the ground?
I don't think so. No, I think it was just like a really bad kitchen fire.
Oh my God. The Johnny Carinos here in Laredo, it like burned down to the ground.
Oh, shut up. No way.
Yeah, like 2 years ago. And it's still out.
It's still burnt down?
Yeah, they haven't done anything like to it. They haven't rebuilt. I had heard originally maybe it was because they were going to try and do an investigation as to like why it started. But they never rebuilt it. Yeah.
Well, I know that they closed down like all the Johnny Carinos at one point. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then
they had a good sangria.
Oh, yeah. I loved Carinos. Like their chicken parmesan was so much better than Olive Garden. But I will tell you some crazy experiences about Logan's.
Okay.
I remember when I started Logan's, again, my sister and I had just moved to San Antonio, and I had serving experience in Chili's Eagle Pass. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I bet that the tipping culture is so much better in San Antonio than it is in Chili's, and I'm sure I can make more money working. Yeah. And then also like my dad, he didn't let me work at Hooters, so that was another thing. I really wanted to be a Hooters girl like that.
Really?
Yeah, I went and applied and everything, and my dad was like, please don't. Like, just don't. I mean, I'm sure nothing against it, but Hooters back then was like, all right, like we're there for the, like they sexualized it a lot, I guess.
No, definitely.
And my dad was like, please, like, just not Hooters. And I was like, okay. Yeah. So I went and applied at Logan's because I remember my sister and I had just moved there. And again, we went to go eat there. And I asked for the general manager. I thought he looked like George Lopez.
Really?
So yeah, I was like, has anyone ever told you look like George Lopez? It is like, I am a very awkward person to talk to sometimes because like I don't know, like any conversation I have is not serious. Like I don't like take, unless you're very talking to me. Yeah, like I don't take anything to offense. I hope nobody takes what I say into offense. I just think it's kind of funny. I'm impulsive. I talk to kids all day. Like, but I told him that I had serving experience and hostess experience, and I was like, pretty much saying how much of a badass I was, but in reality, like I was a shitty server, like before. Yeah. No, like I think I became the best server was when I became a mom and I was working at Olive Garden.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I would say that I remember like, I remember just being young and, you would work those AM shifts and PM shifts, and you would want to get out so fast because you had other you had other priorities. Like I remember going to Cowboys right after a shift, or again to go drink right after a shift. And like I don't know, I knew I was a shitty fucking server at Chili's.
Oh my God.
Did I ever tell you that I didn't know Spanish at Chili's and I left?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I remember.
You were one of those servers.
Yes, I was. And I used it. I used this excuse. I'd be like, hey, this table that only speaks Spanish is calling you. And I would say,
my God.
And I would say, they're calling, like I would go up to a server and I was mostly Weeder. Remember him?
Yes.
And I would tell Weeder, I was like, Weeder, this table's asking for you.
Oh my God, no.
And he would be like, who? And I would point to like the table. And, that they don't speak a lick of English when they first start asking you questions about drinks in Spanish.
The menu and everything. Yep.
And I was like, oh, shit.
And that's how you hooked him.
Yep. And I was like, Tweeter. I was like, you want to take, like, they're calling you. And he was like, what? And I would be like, yeah, they were asking for you. And he was like, I've never served on them in my life.
Oh my.
And yeah, dude. And I remember, like, I would ask him, like, so how much did they tip you? And he'd be like, oh, like, like $15. And back then I was like, damn, that's fuck ton. Like, when I would get $10 tips at freaking Chili's,
you'd be like, woo.
Yeah, I was like, woo, yes. That's what I'm talking about, baby.
That's right. I'm the shit.
$10 tip on $100 tab. That's what I'm talking about. Yes.
Oh,
you were fucking rich for sure. Yeah. I will tell you one nasty thing.
Oh my God.
I forgot to mention this in one of our talks, but when I worked, I remember there was this rude ass customer, like rude. And like the customer made me cry. And it wasn't even like,
my God,
it had nothing to do with like my service. It was the food. And I went back there crying, and I was like, I just got told that I was like the shittiest person ever because this came out so wrong. And I was like, what am I? And I guess like at that time, like the cooks and the linemen, well, I guess they felt bad for me that day because it wasn't my fault, like at all. And I mean, I didn't even run out that food, to be honest. So I didn't get to check it.
Oh, God.
So he ordered that, and all the cooks started like spitting on it. And because I think the customer cussed me out, and it was like so bad that management got involved. And that's when I went back there crying, and then the manager was walking behind me and told them about that. And then the manager was in on it too, like saying like, that guy's a fucking dick and blah blah blah. And I couldn't run it out. Like, I was like, I'm not doing that, because I was already crying.
You can't show face.
Yeah, I was like, I can't do that. Like, that was not. And I remember another server just took it out, and they said that everything was fine. And I was like, I don't want that table. Yeah, I was like, I don't want that table anymore. Just someone get rid of, like, I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, because
transfer it.
Yeah, like, that's all we had to do. Why couldn't we just do that?
Yeah. Wow. In the 11 years, oh my God. In the 11 years that I've worked in the industry, not once have I ever heard of somebody spitting in food. This is the first.
Really?
This is the first. Yeah. And the craziest part is that obviously that's like a big, like,
no.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
No. Like, that's a big fear of everyone. Like, oh, they're going to spit in my food and blah, blah, blah. And every time I would get like a guest who something went wrong, and I would do my part and say like, no, you know what, let me get you a new one. Or if they didn't like it, and if they were being very nice about it, I would tell them like, let me get you something else, or let me remake it. And they're like, no. I don't want you to spit in my food. And I'm like, oh my God, we don't do that. Like, we're like, what? And I would always reassure them, because obviously everywhere I went, like, that's not something that we did.
Yeah, dude.
This is a first. Wow, you've just confirmed it here on the podcast.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. And I remember this like day, like, I just remember it like in the back of my head, because it was a white guy with blue eyes, and I forgot his name, but he was like the meanest grill person ever. Like, you know how you have like, he will not bring in, like, I was surprised that he actually did it, to be honest, because he was like by the books, like, I'm not gonna give you ranch until you bring it in. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So like, I would have to bring
one of those.
Yeah, and when he saw me crying, like, it changed him.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, holy crap. Like, I thought you were the biggest dick alive. Like, I did not see this coming. Like,
yeah.
Line
cooks are human too.
Yeah. That was just like, oh, and now that I think about it, like, after we went through like a whole pandemic and all that crap, like, imagine like somebody spitting on your food,
right?
And then you said it tasted better than before.
That is wild.
And then you give your hats off to the cook, Oh
Oh
my God.
no. If only you knew.
Yes. Compliments to the cook.
To the
Oh,
chef.
to the chef. Yes, that one. Compliments to the
My
chef.
God.
Again, sorry. I know
No,
I
you're
have
good.
some more Logan stuff to say.
Yes.
Mm,
Let's go.
oh my gosh. So there was this one time, this girl, Jade. Jade and Jude are dating, and I just started. And, whenever you first start, like all the cooks and all the linemen and like all the other like male, like testosterone people have to come and like see the new girl.
Of
And
course.
yeah, so like I guess there was like hype about me at one point. I don't know. Like I'm just the new girl. I just started, okay? Like I
Word
don't
on the street was.
word on the street was, yes. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so I was the new girl on the block,
Uh-huh.
okay? And so I guess word got around and I don't know. Um her boyfriend, Jade and
Uh-huh.
Jude was my trainer. And, she was very jealous. And I don't know. Word on the street was that me and Jude were, I guess, getting like we were laughing or something like that. Because honestly, again, I'm not a serious person. And
Uh-huh.
I'm a dude when I around dudes. Like, I don't know. I'm just weird. Like, I vibe with everybody.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I remember we were all in a circle and it was like we were starting like our PM shift. And it was like that circle that everyone is talking about you and you just walk in and they stare at
Oh
you.
my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you just see Jade walk out from the middle of the circle and goes up to me and she goes, "This bitch right here." And I was like, I don't like confrontation. Like I honestly like I fear confrontation because I know me. If something starts, I don't stop. Like I get like mad. I get you know different personalities. Okay, like that's
Yeah.
just it is what it is. And I mean, yeah, like I just remember feeling like, and also I was the new girl, so I like had nobody on my side. And she then came up to me and she was like, "I don't know who the fuck you think you are, but if you think that you're gonna get with Jude, you got some shit going on." And I was like, "Dude, it's my
My
first
God.
day." I was like, "It's my first day." I was like, "I got here this morning, like to start my training with Jude, unfortunately, your boyfriend,
Oh my God.
and you're already yelling at me at 4 p.m."
Dude. We
Yeah,
hate an insecure bitch.
we do. We sure do. And I mean, like, I started crying, and I remember the GM came up to me because I was like telling him, I was like, "I can't do this on my first day." And she was afraid of getting fired because of the way she treated me. And she was like trying to like say, like, "Don't worry, Jessica, like, I'm gonna go." Like, she was on some type of I don't know, different personality for
She
sure,
switched up real quick.
real quick. And I was just like, you know what, go
Dude.
fuck. Like, I told my GM, I was like, "Can I just please go home for the night? But can I have my job? Like, can I make sure that I have my job back tomorrow?" And he
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, absolutely." So I
Oh
appreciated that from
wow.
him. Yeah. That was like the first time that a GM actually ever gave a
Cared.
shit. Yeah. And I liked him a lot because, he did care about, the females and all that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
he didn't put up with men disrespecting, servers.
Good.
Yeah, women servers. So I really did feel good, like protected at that job.
Appreciated.
hmm But
That's good.
and oh my gosh, that Logan's was crazy too because I remember it was a son and a mom the son was a host and the mom was a server, but she only worked Monday through Friday and he only worked Monday through Friday and he only hosted this, and
My
that.
God.
And he was out by this time and his mom and him had to be out at this time and this time, just those type of servers. But she had to close every freaking lunch.
Oh my God. Like the special treatment, like the secured spot.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And dude, it was so crazy because I was working an AM shift that day and all of a sudden SAPD shows up and arrested. Yeah, girl, it was crazy.
No.
Yeah, it turns out that they were like into this big old like drug thing. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, I was too new to even get into that. So, and I was very scared of that mom because
oh my God, that's crazy.
And she will throw hands, and she was like 50 years old.
Oh my God.
And she wore only lip liner, no lipstick.
No.
Yep. We don't know where Joanne's today. I don't know where she is.
No.
Yeah. No idea. I'm pretty sure she's on Cops or something because
no,
like I'm sure.
Dead ass.
Yeah, like that was wild. And like
there has to be a Dateline episode about her.
Bro, for real. And then they even like handcuffed her and like walked her out. And I had to take her tables. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, why? Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, that was so funny.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, and her son got arrested too. And obviously they couldn't come back after that, so.
Yeah, no.
Would you ever rehire? Because I know like there's a lot of like, people that have
been in prison or in jail.
Records. Yeah.
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 I feel like restaurant industry, like the restaurant industry is probably the most open-armed and like welcoming when it comes to people who have been in prison or in the jail system. I know that I've heard IHOP is very well known for giving the opportunity to people who have been like ex-felons or whatever, or anywhere. Like I just know that restaurants have a very good reputation for hiring people who have unfortunately been convicted of a felon or have done jail time, been in prison. Like I've learned that over the years of working in the industry and even being in management, like you get to see like some stuff. Because it's crazy whenever you do interviews and you have to pull up their application and there's obviously like a question that says, are you a felon? And they check mark yes. And you're like, okay.
Do you have to check yes? Do you guys, do restaurants actually do background checks on that?
No. The only time they will is when you're going into management. Like if you have a corporate position, I know that they would do background checks for Darden. And I think they go back as far as 10 years.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Oh, my gosh. That 10. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So would you say that the restaurant industry is a safe place for people to work at?
I think generally it is. For the most part, it is a very safe place. The only thing is that within the restaurant, especially amongst team members, it's kind of like an unspoken truth or statistic or whatever you want to call it. There can be some substance abuse and, people who abuse alcohol or drugs or whatever the case is. I'll never forget, I was working in Orlando one time and I was walking in the kitchen and then the other manager was like, look at what I just found in the walk-in. And I was like, what? And she's like, I was cleaning and whenever we scrub the floors and we squeegee the water, she's like, I just heard this clink, clink, clink. And she looked on the floor and she's like, what? What fell or whatever, right? And she finds, I had never seen one, but it's like a cocaine spoon. I had never seen what one looked like. And apparently it's a tiny little piece of metal and it's a tiny, tiny, very thin spoon. And I was like, what is this? And she's like, Kassy, it's just it's for cocaine. And I was like, oh my God, what?
That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh Lord. I remember when I'm telling you, this Logan's crew was very, very wild. Yeah.
No.
And, you ever seen those TikToks where it's me in the back seat of a fucking guy that got arrested's car or whatever. Like this stupid, like we were so stupid back then. Like,
yeah,
I can't even imagine now.
doing that now.
Yeah, like time has changed so much. And that's
Yeah.
why I asked you, I was like, do you feel safe? Like, do you feel like it's a safe workplace overall? Because I mean, you hang out with, I mean, you don't hang out, but you interact with, you know, a lot of these,
Yeah.
like a lot of different people that have been, you know, we don't, I mean,
you don't know these people at the end of the day. Like, you don't know, like,
and I thought,
and I think
was crazy. Sorry, I'm just going to say this one time.
No, go.
And that's why I say like the restaurant industry is like such a small world. Like it's networking and meeting all these people and like it, all these different personalities, all these different work ethics. And
yeah,
I would say that the good thing about serving is it does teach you multitasking skills.
yes,
The best like multitasking skills. Those are always the
Yeah.
best servers. Like those that, and that's when I knew that I was a good server, when I knew that I could manage a party of 6 without feeling rushed or whatever. Like, you know,
yeah.
like how would you go up to a table and introduce yourself as a server? Like what was like your first, how was your intro at Chili's? Because we had to follow an intro because we have
Mystery shoppers.
yeah, we have shoppers at Texas Roadhouse. And I remember I got a mystery shopper and I fucking, thank God, passed.
Me too.
Yeah. So
I got a mystery shop at Roadhouse. I think one of my very first like solo shifts, and I got like a perfect score.
oh my God, for management
No, what do you mean?
or
As a server.
Oh, you were a server at Texas Roadhouse?
Yeah, after I quit Cheddar's as a manager, I went to Texas Roadhouse short after.
I remember Texas Roadhouse. We would have to start off by
Doing the story.
We would always, yeah. And then marking our tables with, like, if we didn't mark our table with the freaking napkin, yeah, like
Flag
you were
it.
deducted. Yeah, like you started it off wrong already. Like you're fucked. Like you already failed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember we would have to like introduce ourselves. If they couldn't hear us, they would mark us.
Seriously.
And then if we didn't offer an appetizer,
yeah,
then that was a whatever deduction. And then you have to offer them alcohol or a flavored lemonade
Beverage.
or flavored tea or something like that. I was just like, I would never ever, like, there's a lot of sacrifices that I would make for my career, just not a career in the food industry. And it worked out for so many different people. Like when you went into management, like I was super surprised that that was the career path you took.
Yeah. I think that,
and you seem to really like it a lot.
I did. I think I didn't truly realize my passion for the food service industry until I left Chili's, because Chili's was a very difficult place to work at in Eagle Pass. I think that it wasn't even just so much management. I think that the store maybe was just not set up for success, considering it was a small town. It was a small town. Everybody wanted to work there. And, you know, it was the only big chain restaurant apart from like Pizza Hut and other fast food joints. As far as dine-in restaurants, Chili's was like the only one. And it was where everybody went after church or on Friday nights, Saturday nights, after the city parade. Like, you were swamped on a Saturday. It was ridiculous. And so it was just so stressful. I feel like we were always short-staffed, and I don't know, it was just very difficult working there. And I didn't see myself wanting to be in the restaurant industry like when I worked at Chili's, but it wasn't until I moved to Laredo and I started working at Cheddar's, I was like, oh my God, like I think a lot of it had to also do with the fact that I started as a team member that opened the restaurant. So I went through the training process with the corporate trainers, and I got to see like the process of what it was like to open a restaurant from like before day one. And I was like, I love this. And I could see myself like doing this. And then it helped that I had, I mean, not that it helped, but it did. I was actually talking to my friend last week, and while we were recording, she was like, "You were Mark's favorite," and like, and looking back on it, I guess like I was, and she even said like that, like you had a target on your back because of it. Other managers knew their team members from previous restaurants that they worked at, but I think the fact that I knew Norby, Mark, and Gabe kind of gave me like the upper hand. And then on top of that, not a lot of people knew Mark because Mark came from Eagle Pass. And so he didn't really have connections to Laredo as far as previous managing experiences in Laredo. And so, and even then, I think that when you jump from different concepts, you kind of see their culture. Like the culture at Chili's is different than at Texas Roadhouse, and is different at Cheddar's and Olive Garden. And so you kind of adapt to that current culture. And Mark was like, you know what, like this, it was something new to him, I think. And he really thrived at Cheddar's, and he did his part in maintaining that culture. And I think he did a very, very good job. I hear nothing but great things from people that I talked to about Mark. And
I will say, like, I will say that Mark is a very good mentor.
He is.
Yeah. Just, I mean, if I had my mentality now back then, everything that he probably told me is the reason why, like, I'm where I'm at today. Like,
yeah.
I will say, like, I wish I had that maturity back then, because, I mean, you know, maybe I could, like, I don't know. Sometimes I just see myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why wasn't I like this, like, 15 years ago when I was first starting my career? Like, and then also I love to network. Like, you have to have a good, first of all, you have to be confident in order to network with people.
Yeah.
Which is great, because I'm pretty, like, when it comes to the, you know, industry, you meet like the restaurant industry, you meet a lot of different people from different like, you know, I've seen so many servers leave the restaurant industry because they've networked with a table or like whatever, and people have gotten like receptionist jobs or like, you know, and sometimes, like, I would say now, like, it's pretty easy to find a receptionist job. No, not really. It's hard to get, like, it's hard to find a job nowadays. And using those network skills, like, I mean, could really tell about your character. And like, one of my friends, it's so funny why I'm talking about this is because at Logan's, my friend Haley, she was going to be a server like her whole life, pretty much. Like, that's what she's always done, was serve tables.
She was a career server.
Yes, there you go. Like, nothing wrong with that at all, because my mother-in-law, she did that her whole life. Like, she's never had a office job. She's always worked restaurant jobs. Now look at this bitch. Yeah, she owns a restaurant.
That's awesome.
But yeah, my friend Haley, she served a table, and she ended up serving a chiropractor who was, you know, not even hiring at the time, but they were talking and they got into conversation, and he really liked her. And then he ended up being at that restaurant, whatever, with his wife, and she enjoyed Haley. And Haley is now a big project manager for their company. Like,
that's awesome. It is. You never know who you're going to serve on, who you're going to meet, you know, in the restaurant industry. And it is true. It is on marketing.
Yeah. And I would say, like, Logan's Roadhouse, like, again, back then, making $60 on a slow PM shift was okay.
Really?
Like, I honestly, like, I envy those that I see on TikTok now that say, I think I'm going to make $350 on this PM shift. And then they're walking out with $255. And I was like, if only that was like, because I feel like back then tipping wasn't really like expressed to how that's how people made a living back then. Because I will say that my dad was the worst tipper ever until I became a server. This man Yeah, my dad used to tip $10 on $100 tab.
No
I
way.
saw him do that one time when I became a server. He tipped a server $2 and I was like, oh,
How
Dad,
dare you?
I was like, what the fuck? Like, it wasn't until I became a server that my dad knew how to tip.
Yeah. I think that's what I think at the back of my head still. I mean, I know my parents are good tippers, especially since I've been in the food industry. My mom was a director at Chick-fil-A in Eagle Pass. My sister is also in the food service industry. And I think that I know that they're going to tip like honestly 22% every time we go out. But I think I still have that like curiosity that every time we're at the dinner table and they pay, I'm constantly like looking over my shoulder, like, okay, I need to make sure, like, I need to see it with my own eyes that they're going to tip well.
Me too.
But they always do.
Oh, and then I'm horrible because I don't ever have cash on me anymore.
Yeah, well, who does? It's rare. If you're not a server, you almost never have cash. So I have this like running, not a running joke, but it's how I would walk into every shift. And so whenever I would walk in, like as a manager, even if I was closing, I would walk in and I'd be like, good morning, everyone. And everyone was like, what? Good morning. And they already knew that it was me like coming in because I would come in through the back door of the restaurant. And I'd come in, I'd say hi to all the kitchen. I made it a point to say hi to everybody. Like as I was walking in, I hated the managers that would walk in and just like not say hi. I was like, y'all are so fucking rude. But I made it a point to like walk in and like be loud and like be energetic. And I'd be like, hi guys, good morning. And I would say hi. I would call everyone's name and I would just like make it very lighthearted and fun to be like a fun shift. And so that's how I start the podcast now. And then when at the time when I was a manager and I would do like these Cheddar's Chronicles on my Snapchat and I would say, good morning, mi gente, like welcome back, mi gente, to another Cheddar's Chronicle about some stupid shit that happened.
This is how long I've had you as a friend.
You remember?
Snapchat. Yes, because they were private.
Yeah.
And I guess like you can only choose who can see it or something. Yeah, I was always one of them to see it. And I was like, damn, Cass. Like
shit was always going down.
But I always remember responding to a lot of like your like, you know, shit like that you would post. I'd be like, oh, Chili's would never.
Yeah,
like,
I remember.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. So we've always been friends. I feel like I've always been your friend or, you know.
Definitely.
So, yeah. So I just appreciate our long life friendship.
I know, me too.
Yeah. Like I find it as a blessing to, I mean, that I get to have people in my life. And again, I feel like God is also like, God is coming, I shit you not, because if he made me if he called me to serve as a catechism teacher, you know God is coming. Like
we're at the last days.
Yeah, we are at our last days. So I'm just grateful that
we're getting our life together.
Yeah, like, and then also grateful to connect with you again and see where you're at. And I just think it's beautiful that we've had a long time friendship. So
no, definitely. And then who would have thought, like all those years, like through elementary and high school, that we'd end up working at Chili's together, and then both in Florida and do so much time in the food industry.
Yeah, I know. I honestly would say that, you know, when I worked with you at Chili's, you were very like, I knew you were gonna, you know, either you were going to be somewhere other than the food industry, but you were always going to take that hard work ethic with you. Because I remember, I always remembered like when you first started out, you would kind of like, I'm telling you, like I didn't start being a good server until I became a mom. Yeah. And you have always had that work ethic in you because you would literally come to the window and start yelling for your food. Yeah. Like, and you know that you're a good server when people will talk shit about you for doing your job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and you're timing your food and all that stuff. So, yeah. I mean, honestly, like, and that is why Mark also chose you out of all people to, you know, go into the position that you did. And I think it was a good thing for you too, because, you know, you came from like a small town. I always knew that you were like ambitious and, you know, very, again, work ethic skills, very good work ethic skills, professionalism. You've always wanted to be a perfectionist.
Yeah. Especially in my work. Yeah.
Like you've always wanted to do it right. And I'm telling you, like that is I wish I had that back then for people to notice it, because you, like, who would have thought, like, out of all people that Mark knew, to have you, come on to his team like that and give you that opportunity. And he is such a great mentor.
He is.
And I feel like one day, whenever you get the chance, like after you're done taking care of your baby and everything like that, you're probably going to find your way back into the food industry.
I've always wanted to own my own coffee shop. I feel like my next step, if I'm able to, and all this podcasting goes well, and like my small business, I would love to open my own coffee shop.
Oh my gosh, I believe that. And then like I totally get, like, your vibe would be like not even like sweet treats. Like yours is going to be like this, it's going to be a groovy thing. Yeah. Like everyone's vibe.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Definitely. Oh my God. Well, we've had a great time recapping a little bit of everything from our days at Chili's, and then we both worked at Roadhouse and Darden. You were at Olive Garden. I was at Cheddar's. Yeah. So we have a very good.
I don't know what it is, like that we work at the same places. Like, why do we like to work at these places, Kassy? It's like,
right.
Oh my gosh. Like literally we worked for the same
companies.
Except different areas. Yeah. Now that I think about it.
I'm so glad and thankful that you were able to set some time from your busy mom schedule and your full-time job to come on the podcast with us this week.
Oh, absolutely. It was great reconnecting with you, and I see so much potential in you as always. I'm so glad that we were able to reconnect and, go back to the days where it was just us being young and remembering all the experience that you and I had together, and the memories of our childhood, like when we would get together when we were kids too. So,
definitely. Great times for sure.
I know. And you know that you're always going to have a friend in me no matter what.
Thank you. So, likewise.
Yeah. And it was so good talking to you again. And I hope you have,
too.
I wish you nothing but success.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I love you so much. I very much appreciate you.
Girl, I love you too. You know that. You always will have a friend in me, for sure.
Thank you. Likewise. And this will not be the last time that you come on the podcast.
I hope not. I hope that I'm able to be a part of this journey with you. Imagine. Yes. Oh my gosh. All right. Good morning, everybody.
We hope you have a great Friday.
Yes.
And an even better weekend.
I know. You have a good one.
Yes, you too. Drink something strong for me tonight.
I know. Girl, you know how that goes.
Yes.
Well, all right, ho. Is that it?
Yep, good? That's it. We're gooch. All right, mi gente. There you have it. Another great episode. We hope you guys have a great start to your weekend. We hope that nothing that was said turns you off to any particular restaurant. Just reminder to have a great shift if you work tonight. We hope you make a ton of money. And don't forget to send in your stories. Also, before you clock out, make sure that you like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the podcast things. Share this episode with somebody that you love, and we'll see you next week, foodies.